This is the first steam engine I built. Well, really the first one I finished, and I thought I'd just do a short description of it and then give it a run and show you how I was firing it up and get it running and whatever. Now this engine was, because I say it was one of my first, I was building my 5-inch gauge engine at the time, and I wanted to get a steam engine up and running, and I was quite interested in this scale of 16 millimeters to the foot, or SM32 as it's sometimes called, or 1 in 19 scale. And this is a 2-foot gauge engine running on O gauge track. It's based on some of the parts of a Lady Anne from Roundhouse Engineering, and the parts I bought were from Roundhouse were the cylinders, the valve gear, the wheels, and the cranks here. But I modified most of this. I reduced the size of the coupling and connecting rods to make them look a little bit more scale. Some of the fittings in the cab, the lubricator, the throttle, and the burner and the gas tank are all from Roundhouse Engineering. You can see the gas fill valve right here in the loco. Gas fill valve there, the Ronson valve. You see the little nut there that holds the gas tank in place inside the fake water tanks. These were Roundhouse parts as well. They were just little castings that I bought to put on the water fills, although there's no water actually in the side tanks here. It's probably one of the most reliable engines I've ever had. It's very, very simple to use. It runs, and it runs, and it runs, and doesn't take a lot of maintenance. The boiler is proportioned such that the gas tank runs out before the boiler runs out of water. That means that I don't need a water gauge here, and I don't need a water fill system, which makes it much simpler as far as running is concerned. Not quite as interesting, funnily enough. It's nice to just get an engine that works, but if you want one that's going to actually test you, then my other engines do a lot more of that. It has a Summerland's exhaust system in here, which makes it chuff a little bit more. I did, because I sometimes run it indoors, I put a little pan underneath the exhaust so that it catches the water and the oil that comes out from the cylinders here. These are Roundhouse cylinders, as I say. The engine looks very like a Lady Anne of Roundhouse Engineering, and the reason for that is that I quite like the design of Lady Anne, and the people at Roundhouse, when I built it in 1991, were actually extremely helpful in terms of giving me advice and giving me their plans, etc., for me to cut out the frames to make the boiler and do the side tanks. So it looks like a Lady Anne. I rather like that design. I think it's very neat as far as the design goes. It's got a little bit of a big hangover from the front and the back. And also, the cylinders probably stick out too far. This buffer beam. It could be a little bit narrower and closer into the frames. You've got enough space around the valve gear here for that to happen. But whatever, it works extremely well. It'll run for probably about 20-25 minutes on one fill of gas and water. It's very friendly and easy to use. I'll just show you the whistle underneath here on the engine. You can see it. The whistle lies between the wheels. There's plenty of space, luckily, inside this engine. You can see the whistle here. There's the whistle valve down here. And this here is the servo that controls the whistle. I'll show you that operating. So that's the control on the top of the controller here. Controls the whistle valve. That blows the whistle, which, as I say, rests up here between the wheels. To get the cab roof off, I take off these small hex head set screws. Try and keep the loco on the track while I'm doing it. It's a little bit slower than I would like. You've got to be careful you don't lose the little set screws when you're on the track. It's easy doing it here on the table. And then you can see inside of here, you can see the battery for operating the RC controls inside the locomotive. You can see the on-off switch for the RC here. And also the aerial comes up here, and this is the aerial for the RC. That was a roundhouse idea. I don't know whether they still use it, but that was a roundhouse idea, and it seems to be pretty effective as long as you're not more than 100 yards away from the locomotive and there's nothing between you and the engine. Then if you look inside the cab, get close up and look inside the cab, we have the usual array of servos and mechanics. That little twitch you saw is the throttle. You see that there? This is the gas control valve here. Got a little screw sticking out of it so I know where the position is of the gas control valve for the best intensity of flame. You've got the ubiquitous pressure gauge here. The servo motor for the throttle is just in this corner here. If I tilt it a little bit further up, you can see that's the little bit dusty and a little bit dirty. That is the receiver, the radio control receiver tucked away in there. Luckily it's a small one. You can see here the oil, this is the cylinder oil lubricator. You've got the safety valve just there. You can see it on top of the boiler. Come around here. Lubricator stuck in the doorway there. That's the drain, and that's the fill at the top there. You can see the pressure gauge here. These locomotives are quite hard to lift in one hand. They're pretty heavy. I think this is about 8 or 9 pounds this locomotive comes in at. Look out for part 2 where I continue with the steaming of Isabel, and check out the rest of this channel with more model steam engine videos. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.